All right, we are live.
Yeah.
We are live. All right, let's see. So we have, I'm on both my Facebook platforms as well as YouTube. So hello, good afternoon, everybody. Let me see. I'm letting the people come on in before we get started.
Okay.
Let's see. All right, let's see. So we have. Oh, let me turn my volume down on my phone. Facebook platform. All right, there we go. There we go. All right. So just waiting, just waiting. All right, so we have a couple people coming in. We're gonna wait till a few more people come in, and then we'll go ahead and get started on the topic today. Let's see. All right, everybody, I'm going to give y'all some background music for a minute until we get some more people in here. Mm. Right. Hello, everybody that's checking in from Facebook. Hello, hey, and hello, everybody checking in from YouTube. Let's see. All right. Hey, life according to Lena. All right. Bring that down a little bit. All right. Doo-doo-doo-doo. All right. So we have Miss Deandra Nishia. Did I pronounce it right? I've been
Yeah,
feeling like maybe I didn't.
Deandra, for sure.
Okay, Deandra for short. Um, we have Deandra in the building. She is joining us. Me and her have been talking back and forth for a couple of months, off and on, and she's been, in and out of social media. And she wanted to talk about her story with her baby that wound up passing away last year. And again, my sincerest condolences to you. And I pray for you and everything that you have been through with the loss of your baby. And we appreciate you for wanting to share your story with the people, with the masses, and get your story out to everyone.
Yeah.
So, can you go ahead and give me a little background about you and what happened, and give the people because I know already.
Yeah. So I'm Deandra Nishia. I am a proud mother of 6 babies, one who's an angel. So back in probably a little bit before during the pandemic, rather, I had a blood clot that was in my right lower lung. So I ended up going to the hospital. I had to start taking blood thinners for quite some time. Then I eventually got off the blood thinners. And then last year, I found out I was pregnant with baby AJ around probably about April or May. And then the journey began. I was considered high risk at that point because I had a previous blood clot. And so I had to start giving myself injections in my belly every day, twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening, to prevent blood clots from coming during the pregnancy. And then probably about around my 16-week checkup, I went to the high risk doctor. They told me that baby AJ um, had what they call a cystic hygroma on the back of his neck, and that it would be something that maybe he wouldn't make it to the second trimester, or he may even make it to the second trimester, but he began to defy all odds, I would say, at that point. He made it to the second trimester, and everything was going well. He was growing, he was thriving like any other normal baby was doing. And then on October 20th of 2022, I got up that morning because at the time I was working remote from home, and I started having like aches in my belly, like really, really bad cramps. And I'm like, something's not right. And so I'm like, I need to go to the hospital. So I drove myself to the hospital here in Tallahassee. I got checked in, and then when they checked my cervix, they seen that I was 4 centimeters dilated.
Mm.
And they were like, the baby's head is down, like he's coming. So I'm like, what?
Wow.
He's coming. And so they were like, you can't go home, you got to stay. And my high risk doctor already had done talked about potentially transferring me or having me deliver the baby at a local hospital that was a hospital probably about 2 hours away from my house in Gainesville, Florida. And they had requested Life Flight to come pick me up before I actually have the baby so I can deliver the baby at Shands, but no one ever came. So I ended up having to have an emergency C-section within, like, say, I got there probably like about 10 that morning. I went from 4 centimeters to 10 within about an hour and a half, 2 hours max. And so my OB doctor was like, you're delivering the baby here. We're going to have to do an emergency C-section. First time ever having a C-section. So I'm super scared, super nervous, but I had the C-section. So baby AJ comes out. Of course, he has a cystic hygroma, and he's born at 28 weeks. Considered a premature baby. And the hospital that I was at where he was delivered, they didn't feel that they had adequate staff to take care of baby AJ. So they recommended that he be transferred to Shands in Gainesville.
Okay. Yeah, it's Shands, Gainesville. Because Shands, they are really known for, a lot of their research, a lot of their, extreme cases, any type of, they're a teaching hospital.
Right.
So definitely Shands, Jacksonville, Shands, Gainesville, those are your hospitals when it comes to like really severe situations. Yeah.
Right. So I had him on October 20th, and then on October 21st, Shands came and got him that morning about 2 in the morning, and they rolled him into my room. That was my first time really seeing him, because after I had the C-section, when they're premature like that, they just heard me take him over to the NICU.
Right.
So I didn't get an opportunity to really see him then. So I got an opportunity to see him on October 21st, about 2:00 that morning before they actually drove him to Shands. And then that's when they began to tell me that he was really, really sick. They didn't know how to best treat him. So he sat there for 25 days at Shands with no confirmed diagnosis at all. His eyes never opened, not one time we were there. And I would just go visit him throughout the week. Like every weekend, I would go up there Friday through Sunday. We would stay at the hotel. And it became quite expensive. But, as a parent, you do what you got to do when your babies are sick. So I stayed there with my baby. I stayed there every weekend. And when they needed me during the week, I showed up. And then I remember having a meeting with the physicians probably about a week and a half before he passed. Met him to the room. And to be quite transparent, we were the only 2 Black minority parents in the room. All the white. And they began to tell us like they couldn't figure out what was going on with my baby. They thought that he had something going on with his lymphatic system. And they asked us for recommendations on how to best treat my baby. They said, if you guys can think of anything or you guys can recommend anything on how to best treat him, let me know. And so I remember when we got there with baby AJ that a physician had came over to us when they were thinking that was something wrong with his lymphatic system. I asked her, I said, hey, what hospital can best treat my baby? And I remember her telling me Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So I kind of jotted that down in my mind, like, hey, this is a hospital that could potentially help my baby, or they may use this hospital in the future if they can't figure out what's wrong with my baby. And so after having that meeting, they even mentioned something to the effect like, oh, you guys are well educated. That's what they told us at the meeting. And so after that, I'm like, okay, as any parent would do, I'm like, I'm Googling, I'm looking up stuff. I'm trying to figure out how can I get my baby to this Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So I called them and they're like, yes, we'll be more than happy to give a second opinion on your baby. And they came up every Tuesday. And that the information had to be in by Friday. So the week that before he passed, I reached out to the doctors at Shands. I'm like, hey, I need all of baby AJ's medical records sent over immediately so we can get him on the review board for next week, Tuesday.
Right.
The physician at that time was like, I don't think that we should transfer his information over to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia because now I don't think that something wrong with his lymphatic system. I think he has what they call leaking capillaries. And that's something that has no cure. And so I'm like, you've never mentioned this to me the whole time he's been at Shands. Not once have you ever brought this to our attention. You've always simply told us there was something with his lymphatic system. And so I'm like, this is all new. So I'm like, there's no cure for it. Like, what do you do as a parent at that point? And so I was able to be persistent and advocate for my baby. And I was able to get his medical records over to have him up for review that following Tuesday, which is the day before he passed away. And so it was just a lot that was going on up until that part with my baby. Um, and I was just so overwhelmed. I was to the point where I literally was on the floor at the hospital in
My
tears on
goodness.
the floor. I just didn't know what to do because it was my first time coming home from the hospital without my baby. And in that moment, I was just like, my God, what do you want me to do? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, as a parent, you know, you take your baby to the hospital, you take them to the doctor, you expect them to give you some type of tools to work with so you can try to get
Right.
your baby healthy. But I didn't get that while I was at Shan. And the days that I wouldn't visit him, they had what they call like an ease app that they would send you pictures of the baby if you were kind of far away.
Okay.
So during like the week before a couple of days before he passed, I began to get pictures of my baby with blood all over his face. I began to get pictures of my baby. And I'm like, who does this? Because the nurses were the ones who would send the pictures because they were around me the most. And I remember that day before he passed, the doctors had called me and his dad and were like, we don't think he's going to make it through the night. Because they were giving him a diuretic that was basically making his kidneys shut down, just drying him up. Because with the lymphatic system, what they were saying, basically every time they would give him something, his body would retain the fluid. And then they were thinking that by giving him the diuretic, it's going to draw off that excess fluid. Because of, like, I forgot what is it called? Edema? That's how you say it?
Yeah, with the swelling.
Yes. So you would touch him. It got so bad that, yes, you can see your fingerprint in his body.
Okay.
And like, hey, you don't think that giving him the diuretic over time will, you know, make his kidney shut down? She said, no. But that's what began to happen. And so, like I said, the day before he passed, I saw my baby on the app, and I'm like, he's gone. I said to myself, he's gone. Like, he's just literally waiting for me to get there to say my goodbyes to him. And so on that Wednesday, November the 16th, we went to Shan, and the doctors were all gathered around his bedside, and you can just tell my baby was no longer there. Like, he didn't have any more fight in him either, and I couldn't blame him because I continuously poked you. They continuously did a number of things, and not to mention his right arm was broken and fractured bad, and we still to this day don't know if it happened at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital or Shan.
Wow.
So it was just a lot. And so when he passed away that day, that was my first time seeing his dad just really just break down, because he had been keeping it together the whole time for me. And then that day he just couldn't do it anymore. And then they rolled him to a private room. And because I had never got an opportunity to hold my baby, I asked him, I said, do you mind if I hold my baby while he takes his last breath? And they told me yes. And, I was holding him, and he took his last breath while I was holding him.
Whew. I know that had to be like probably one of the toughest, most emotional moments in your whole life. Just hearing that, I'm getting emotional, you know, like
26 days old. You know, I never, like I said, I never got an opportunity to hold him. I was able to change his pamper twice, and then you just a child that you bonded with, you're holding them and they take their last breath. Like, it was a lot to take in that day. And I was just so angry with the doctors and stuff. And I asked my aunt, because my aunt's a good person. Like, she kind of keep it together. And I said, Auntie, I said, you think it's okay if I, you know, tell the doctors how I feel? She said, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And so I remember after he passed, we were all gathered in a room. Doctors, I want all of you guys to come in the room, and I want to talk to you guys. And I told them, I said, I don't want this to happen to anybody else. I said, the fact that you guys asked me and his dad for recommendations, I said, that was just unacceptable. And then I'm scrambling, trying to find ways to save my baby's life. And then you give me like feedback saying that you don't think it's this, you don't think it's that now. You didn't even want to give his medical records over. And I told her, I want you guys to.
Oh, we lost her. Oh, there you go. Okay.
I told them that I want them to remember my baby. And I didn't know that day was going to come into existence. Like they were really going to remember my baby. I just didn't know.
So
Go ahead, Tay.
my question to you is, so I'm just trying to wrap my head around the fact that there was injury
Mm-hmm.
and nobody is taking accountability for this.
No, we didn't know his arm was broken until when he got to Shands. Supposedly, the radiologist, they had to take an X-ray of his chest and lungs. And then at that point, the radiologist noticed that his arm was fractured. And then he had already been there about 2 to 3 days already. And that's when the physician called me and was like, hey, that's after we went to go see him. We were headed back home from Gainesville, back to Tallahassee. The physician's like, hey, the radiologist just noticed or wrote in his report that baby AJ has a right fractured arm and it's pretty bad. And they was like, I don't know where it happened at. And they were supposed to get back with us and let us know if it was on the reports or notes from TMH from Tallahassee Memorial, but they never got back to us on that at all.
So at this point, do you have an attorney that is researching this?
Yes, I have an attorney, but the attorney he's looking into this, but he was more so hired to help us with the situation with the funeral home.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, because I mean that investigation needs to happen. Like when I say ASAP, because if it was, I don't want to say that, but you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
And it would have been addressed like expeditiously. And especially, and this ties into something else that is prevalent, what's going on right now. And I'm sure you've heard of the news about, these nurses with the fake licenses and all this stuff. And that could be one of those people, you know what I'm saying, that is involved. Did you wind up getting an autopsy done?
Yeah, so I'm gonna take a step back to say there was one other incident at Shands that kind of was alarming to me and his dad. So everyone up there, and we was kind of allocate our day, like set our day. So we know that in the morning we're going to spend time with baby AJ. We'll take a lunch break about 12 o'clock, and then we come back and spend the remainder of the day up until dark with him. So every time we would go up there for like the first 2 weeks, we would go in straight to we would show our ID, go straight back to the NICU because they would give us like little wristbands to put on, so they knew that we were the parents.
Right.
So we got up there on that weekend, and this particular time was a little bit different. So we went on, did our typical morning with baby AJ, made sure everything was good with him, and then we went to lunch, came back, and now we couldn't go in the back, and we were stopped at the front. So we were like, what's going on? Like, why we can't go back? We're typically used to just being able to go straight to at our band. And the reception's at the front of the NICU. She's like, oh, something's going on with your baby. You have to wait in the waiting room for a little bit, and then we'll let you know when you can go back. So now me and his dad are getting very antsy, like, what's going on with my baby? Why I can't go in the bag? So he tells us that the nurse made a mistake and pulled the PICC line out of his right broken arm while she was rotating him. And so he had been doing good, we would say. He wasn't doing like perfect at the time. Prior to that, first came in, he was on 2 ventilators at full maximum speed, or however you say that terminology.
Yeah.
And then he had got down to be on 1 ventilator where the settings were kind of getting lower. And so it was like, okay, he's turning the corner a little bit, because I know that NICU
improving
days and bad days with the babies. And so after that incident happened where she pulled the PICC line out of his right broken arm, baby AJ went on 2 ventilators again, full blast, and he never came back. He was irritable. He was irritated. I'm like, anybody, if you pull a PICC line of a broken right arm, they're going to be irritated too. And so they were telling me sterile environment. So that's why we couldn't come in the back at the time. But we were pissed, to say the least. We were pissed. Because I'm like, how do you not know if they had like a little cast on his arm, like a little band or whatever you want to call it on his arm. So obviously, you need to be extra careful with our baby.
Absolutely.
And that she wasn't, apparently. So I was just like, crazy. So it was just so much that led up until that day that we were just aggravated with completely.
Wow. Like, it's so many thoughts that are running through my mind right now, and I can only imagine, how you are feeling in this moment. Um, this is, I mean, the neglect, the just everything. This definitely, um, oh my God, like I'm just at a loss right now.
It was a lot. It was a very lot. It was a lot to process. In the moment, just trying to keep our head together. His dad, as any parent would be, he was just so upset. And it's like, in that moment, like you feel like you're helpless, like you can't do anything to help your child. You just feel like you're less of a parent in that moment because I'm
Right.
everything for my babies, and in this moment, I had no control of. I felt like. And I was just having like an out of body experience as his mom, and me and his dad were having that same way. Like, where do we go? Like, what do we do? And I'm calling them. When I say I'm calling everybody, I'm calling everybody I can think of to try to help me help my baby. And I'm asking several questions. I'm keeping a log. I'm keeping a book of who I talked to, what nurse, the time. I'm
Mm-hmm.
because I'm checking on him at the 4 o'clock, the 7 o'clock, the 2 o'clock. I'm 2 8 this in the morning, 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 6, 7, before they change shifts. Like I'm on it because I'm like, I mean, what else can I do other than take notes and just keep asking a series of questions to try to advocate for my baby? And all of that I did, it still wasn't enough to keep him here. And I felt like if I advocated sooner for my baby, that he could have potentially still been here.
But the thing is, you can't blame yourself. You know, the hospital definitely needs to be held accountable, whichever hospital it was, or whether it was in transport or whatever. Um, you know, just listening to this has me so upset. Um, like, yeah, it's awful, but don't blame yourself. You had your baby where you thought your baby was going to be safe, and nobody expects that to happen in a hospital that's supposed to be a good hospital. Nobody expects that. And you did everything that you could possibly do as a parent, and you feel like, okay, the hospital, they're going to take care of my child, they're going to do what's right, and you don't anticipate those types of things happening.
I know. I mean, day by day, I feel like I get a little bit better with dealing with that.
Hmm.
And have told me that it wasn't my fault because I feel like I'm so used to trying to be like the problem fixer for everybody. Like when
Right.
my family and friends call me and say, "DeAndre, I need you to look up this or do this for me." I'm able to do that, and the fact that I couldn't do it for my baby in that moment of his life, I felt worthless as a parent. I felt awful
Yeah.
because I have other babies who I love. I'm talking about unconditionally, and anytime they get a little cough, sniffle, we all know whether they're grown or not. You be
Right.
like, this baby, you can do this. We're gonna get you back to health, give you some tea, whatever I gotta do for my babies, I'm gonna do.
Yeah. And you couldn't fix this.
I could so I'm like, this got to be crazy. I'm like, God, what do you want me to do? And so in the end, when he took his last breath though, the hospital, Shane's told us, the social worker was like, we're contracted with this funeral home at Forest Meadows, and if you guys want to do the crematory services, you can definitely do that because he was just so swollen. We didn't want people to see him like that.
Hmm.
That decided on the crematory services, and was an autopsy as well. And so we were told that he would be given that they would do the autopsy first, and it would take a couple days, and then they would transfer his body back to the hospital. And at which point, the funeral home would pick him up and do the services that we requested.
Hmm.
So that first week after he passed, I began to make phone calls at that point. I was calling the autopsy people that's also with Shane's as well, to kind of see where they were with this autopsy. And they told us that, it would be about 3 or 4 days or so. They would have his body back to the hospital, at which point the funeral home could come pick him up. So I even waited about a week later to call the funeral home to say, hey, this is baby AJ's mom. I'm calling to check and see when my baby will be ready to be picked up because we already had his memorial service planned for January 28th of this year,
Hmm.
but after the holidays and so forth. And so they were like, somebody will give you a call once his ashes are ready to be picked up from the newborn crematory department. So we were like, okay, fine. So So that was around like I would say the later part of November of last year, and then no one ever called us back. And so after
Unbelievable.
that, I started calling them again. I called back. I'm saying, hey, I just called you guys. I'm just checking on baby AJ to see when his ashes will be ready to be picked up. They told me the same thing. Somebody will give you a call back once he's ready to be picked up. Nobody never calls us back. So then we needed a copy of his death certificate. And so we went down to the local health department here in Tallahassee for vital statistics. And we tried to obtain a copy of his death certificate. They told us that the death certificate was not on file and to contact the funeral home, they would be the ones to be able to send that in to them. So we're like,
Unbelievable.
as I'm walking out of the vital statistics office, I'm calling the funeral home to say, hey, I need my baby's death certificate. What's going on? They were like, we're working on it. Somebody will give you a call back once he's ready to be picked up. Never no call back, no nothing. So then we waited about, this is probably, I would say like maybe mid-December. I called him back again. I'm like, hey, I'm still waiting on a phone call. I'm calling to check on my baby's ashes. What's going on? And then we also don't have a copy of his death certificate. What's going on? So like somebody give you a call back, no call back. We go back down to the vital statistics office this time, and they tell us that it's a death certificate on file. However, the death date is incorrect. They have the death date down as October 21st of 2022, as opposed to November 16th of 2022. So she was like, they need to fix this immediately. I called the funeral home back. They tell me they'll have somebody on it. Somebody give me a call back. No call back. Didn't get it corrected or nothing at that time.
Mm.
So then I'm getting overwhelmed because I'm getting frustrated. Me and my husband, we getting frustrated. He's getting frustrated. I'm getting frustrated. And so we called the funeral home back and said, hey, you guys need to fix this. Like, somebody's going to work on it as well. Nobody give us a call back. So we end up getting the incorrect death certificate with the wrong date to try to just go ahead and move on what we tried to go ahead and do for the memorial service and so forth. But it never ended up getting corrected until I got a little spiffy in January when we were riding in the car. And his dad was like, what's going on with the baby's ashes? So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna call while we're in the car because like you don't get it. I'm constantly calling. They're
Right.
not understanding. I'm gonna call while you're in the car. So I got
Mm-hmm.
we got the funeral home on the speaker, and I'm like, I need to speak to the funeral director because it's unacceptable. So the funeral director gets on the phone. He tells me, I'm sorry about what's going on. We're gonna investigate what's going on with baby AJ. I'll give you a call back. No call back, no nothing.
Oh my gosh.
So then I just told my family and stuff, I'm not going to keep going back and forth because I'm frustrated. I'm trying to grieve. And so I end up canceling the memorial service on January 28th. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm doing everything that I can by calling them and they're telling me they're going to give me a call back. I don't have anything left in me. I'm running out of energy at this point.
Just the lack of regard for a grieving family, the lack of regard for the baby's remains, like this is unprofessionalism, it's unethical, it's so many things. Now, and you wind up getting an attorney involved to take care of that situation, right?
Yeah, so what happened was on March the 17th, I'll never forget that day. I went down to visit my family in Miami, and my sister, my niece, they were like, hey, what's going on with my nephew? Like, we haven't heard anything about it anymore. And I was like, I sighed just like that. I'm like, y'all just don't get it. I'm like, I'm tired of people asking. I'm like, I only thing I can do is call the funeral home. They keep telling me they're going to give me a call back. I'm like, I'm going to call while you guys are here because I knew after I called, regardless of whether it was good or bad, we were gonna have a good
Mm-hmm.
time. That I didn't have to focus in on not getting the phone call back or my baby at that point. And so I called while hold on one second.
Okay.
I called while my sister and my niece were present so they can hear what was going on. And so we called the funeral home and the reception's like, a lady named Lindsay, she's in charge of the cremations for the newborns. Let me give you her number. So they gave me her number. We called her and she asked me a couple of questions. She said when he was born, where he was born, how he died, where he died, and was he born dead or alive? She asked me these questions. So I'm like, this is the funeral home. Like, you don't know this stuff? Like, I
Right.
like you guys are not together. And she was
At
like,
this point, you should have all the answers to these questions.
I shouldn't be. telling you these things. So I gave it information, neither here nor there. And she said, I'll give you a call back. So that was around like maybe 11 o'clock that morning. And she
Mhm.
back around something. She's like, hey, I told you I was going to give you a call back because I had already expressed that they weren't giving me a call back. And then she's like, we were able to locate his information. However, the machine is broken that does the crematory services and won't be fixed. It won't be fixed until March 27th. Yeah. And so we're like, March 27th. She was like, and then someone will give you a call back once your baby's ready to be picked up. So I was like, telling my sister, like, I told you guys, like, this is what I'm dealing with. They was like, what? This is
4 months later, 3 months later,
we're at 4 months by that time.
4 months.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell?
Yeah, 4 months. And this whole time, I would say, when I say I hadn't cursed the people, I hadn't been rude, it was almost like I had a halo over my head. I promise you. Because anybody else, I would have said something smart, slick to them, and be like, what the hell is going on? It was like, God was like, be humble. Like, it was like a halo. Just something just kept keeping me humble in the moment. I don't know what. It had to be none but God, because, I mean, it was a lot. And so I remember being at work, because now I've actually quit my remote job at home because I'm so overwhelmed. I'm having like severe anxiety.
Absolutely.
My baby. I just get like into like a state of depression, I would say. It was so bad, Tay, that after he passed, and we had this beautiful baby shower for the baby. We had everything you can think of that a baby needed. We didn't have to buy not a sock, not a onesie, not. We're so blessed. This was me and his dad's first son together. So blessed that after he passed, I was like hoarding over the stuff, I would say. And I didn't know how to, I was having like a, they call like separation anxiety. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I couldn't separate from the clothes. I would look at the clothes and just start crying. I would just want to just crawl into a hole for a little bit and just not come out until it's over with. And so I remember I had started working at a job in the office rather. And I remember being at work the week of March 24th, and I just started crying. I just broke down. I couldn't take it anymore because I had been kind of putting on this mask the whole time.
Right.
Together for everybody, because I'm a mom, I got other responsibilities. So I'm like, I can't do it. And I'm like, who can help me? Like, who can I call? Who can help me? And so I started looking on the funeral homes. Like they have they have the Google reviews. You can see this, conducting people leaving their reviews. And so I started looking. It's like God whispered and said, get yourself together, child. Like, you got a purpose. You got a cause. You got to do. I'm like, what you want me to do, God? Like, I ain't got no more. I don't got nothing left of me. I'm drained. And so I looked on the Google review. It was a lady named Jessica Coughlin who was on there. And she talked about how she had a really bad experience about 45 years ago with the same funeral home. Her baby was only 18 days old, and she did the crematory services as well. And they gave her the runaround, so much to the point that his dad ended up cursing the funeral home people out, and she couldn't pick her baby's ashes up for the funeral home. She had to pick her baby's ashes up from Shands. And so I'm like, how can I contact this lady? So now I'm in investigative mode. I'm like, let me go on Facebook, see if I can find this lady on Facebook. Maybe she can give me some insight, help me get my baby's remains. And so my good friend / little sister at work, she was like, let's look her up. So we were looking up on Facebook, and lo and behold, there was a business card there that had her name and number on there. And I'm like asking my friend, I'm like, should I call her? She's like, no, just wait a minute. I'm like, no, I'm going to call her. And so I called her, and she was so sweet. And she said, I had the same experience with this funeral home. She was like, whatever I can do to help you, I'm going to do it. And so I then reached out to our local news station here in Tallahassee, and I'm like, maybe they can help me to get my. And lo and behold, they were like, we will help you. We want to put your story out there. Let's do it. And so I did it. And then I started getting a multitude of inboxes on my Facebook page saying these same other parents, other mothers had
different stories.
Yeah. From the same funeral home, same hospital. Yes, they were inboxing me.
Wow.
And they had the same experience. It was one mother who baby was born in January. Well, he died. No, he was born in January. No, he died in January. I'm sorry. He died in January of this year. And she got his remains back in March of this year. And she was like, how in the world my baby passed away after your baby, and I got his ashes back before you. She's like, I don't believe it.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
And so,
then so you're back to, not only do I remember what you said about this machine being broken, so basically that was BS. And it seems it oh my God.
yeah, it gets horrible. It gets worse. And so, Robin, the young lady who I'm talking about, she reached out. Like I said, she reached out. She was the one who told me whatever I can do. She was also another parent who said, whatever I can do to help you, I will.
Mhm.
So me and Jessica end up going on the news station, and they have a sister station in Gainesville that kind of correlates with the one here in Tallahassee. So they went out to the funeral home to get footage as well. And so now the funeral home knows that the news people are out there, but I feel like they knew what the reason they were out there for me, but they didn't know. And so a multitude of like outlets, news outlets and stuff are calling them, asking about my baby, like where is he at and so forth. And so I remember on March 24th, it aired on the news at 5 o'clock in the evening, Eastern time. 5:14 p.m., I get a phone call from the funeral home. I didn't
Hmm.
answer because I didn't recognize the number.
Right.
And they're like, hey, this is Patrick, the funeral director calling from Forest Meadows. We're calling to let you know. And then someone whispers, you can hear a whisper on the voicemail of somebody whispering to the funeral director my baby's name. And then he still butchers my baby's name. And then he says, we'll go ahead and get that transferred on up to you. Yes.
That this was a baby. This was my baby. This that had a heart, that a name. That
That's,
wow.
that's how he addressed my baby. And then after that, I'm more so around that time where I would say, because it aired on that Friday, Sunday, we had hired an attorney that weekend. And then that's when everything started about. And then, so recently, my attorney on my birthday was able to go pick up my baby's remains. And it just didn't sit well in my spirit, I would say, because I had a lot of unanswered questions. A lot of
Mhm.
I was wondering, like, is this my baby's ashes?
I was getting ready to say, how do you know?
There's no way I'll ever know because he was so little and he didn't
Mm.
have, and his bones were so little. So there's no way that you can do DNA on the ashes.
Right. Yeah, I figured that.
So
I
they'll
just
bring
man.
questions in my mind, if is this my baby? I may never know, but I mean, it's just so much.
And I mean, just the lack of accountability, the lack of it's shameful. I mean, all of this. And, what it sounds like is that there seems to be some lines that have really been crossed. And I just wonder, like, are y'all in on it together?
I don't know. That's to be determined. It's just even when like the news people reached out to Shan's and was like, "What's going on? You guys are contracted with these people." They said no.
Mhm.
That was their response to the news people, no
I
comment.
didn't hear it. It kind of went out. What did you say they said?
So when the news people reached out to Shan's to ask them about what they felt about what was going on with baby AJ, taking so long to get his remains back, they told the news people rather no comment.
Mm.
No comment.
I mean, there's no regard for human life. You could tell by them saying that in reference to your baby. Like, you're supposed to be in the business of helping grieving people, grieving family members. No one wants to think of their, child's remains or family member's remains as a that, you know? It's like there's literally no compassion whatsoever, no humanity, none of those things that you're supposed to possess when you're working in that type of industry.
Yeah, there was definitely a lack of unprofessionalism shown. I mean, it was so many different things with that just it was just gut wrenching. Like you have, like you said, no regard for human life. You don't care about the mother on the other end or father on the other side,
Mm-mm.
grieving on the
The,
other. Like
the suffering.
you just don't care, and
Yeah.
heartless to say the least.
Hmm. Like, and now I believe that you had inboxed me that the article that was it on the news? Is that what you had inboxed me? Because I know I watched it.
Yes.
Yeah. Give me a second, everybody. I'm getting ready to go and find that article, so I'll be right back in a second. Let me see. Um, Let me go into my messages and look. Alrighty. So everybody, I'm going to post the article on my page. Can you give me a second? There it is. Command C. Command V. Return. All right, I just put it in the comments. One of the moderators, can you go ahead and pin that for me? I would greatly appreciate it. And I'm also going to post it on my page so we can bring awareness to your situation. Post. And so right now you're in the process of you have a lawyer and you're dealing with the situation with the funeral home, and now do you plan on seeking legal counsel in regards to the hospital?
Yes, I am. Along with this as well. So it probably be two separate incidents altogether, obviously. But I am definitely going to see if they can be held accountable as well. Now, if they are, that's to be determined. But I'm definitely going to seek legal action against them as well at some point.
Okay. And then everybody, also putting in the link for Deandra's foundation. Now you did start, and hold on, please, just a second. Let me go ahead and block this person. I'm gonna go ahead and do that right there. Thank you. All right. So Deandra has also started a foundation. I am going to put the foundation in the comments, and the foundation is called the Togetherness Foundation. It is a foundation in memory of baby AJ. And I'm
Yeah.
putting that in the comments. Oh,
Yes. In the midst
so
of all,
tell us about your foundation.
yes, ma'am. So in the midst of all this, to help me heal, to help me kind of, I guess, give me something to a way to be able to give back to the community as well. Me and his dad decided to start a foundation called the Togetherness Foundation. It's a safe space that will provide resources for parents who either lost a child and or have a child who's facing a major health crisis. Our foundation will be able to provide the parents rather, with resources such as like gas, food, hotel accommodations. At some point, we want to be able to go ahead and pay or take care of their rent or mortgage. To be able to take care of some of those extra stressors that may be going on in their life after they've either lost a child or they have a child who has a continuous ongoing medical condition. Because we remember when we were going through what we were going through with baby AJ, just having to pay for a hotel that was supposed
Hmm.
to change was $700 for the weekend from Friday through Sunday, because Ronald McDonald House was full.
I
And
was going to
sometimes
ask about that.
food, gas, and everything else that goes along with it. So we were like, dang, if we would have had a foundation or some place that we could have called to just give us a little bit of help, it would
Right,
probably make all the difference.
right.
Um, so we have kicked off our foundation, and we are having our first back to school community event on August the 5th of 2023 here in Tallahassee, Florida at Tom Brown Park. And so our goal this year is to try to get about 500 book bags, and a multitude of school supplies that include pencils, pens, paper, headphones, water bottles, markers, crayons, so we can help out the less fortunate in our community. And by doing
Awesome.
so, it's definitely going to help me heal by being able to see other families, other babies, and other kids, have that smile on their face.
Right. Wow. Like, I thank you for having the courage and strength to be able to talk about your experience. and what you've gone through from, dealing with your loss. Now, are you also like in counseling for grief and things like that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we
Yes.
have a grief therapist who we see called Dr. J. Marks here in Tallahassee, Florida. She's
Hmm.
phenomenal. She's definitely been helping us along this journey, um, because she gives, I mean, just little tips that she gave us that we wouldn't even think about that makes all the difference when you're going through something like
Yeah.
45-minute session of cardio, and
Yeah.
eat protein in your diet, 10 minutes of meditation a day
Yeah.
at the same time every day, using the app, either Calm, and some of the other apps. I can't think of all the rest of them off the top of my head, but Calm.
Right. A lot of resources out here. So, that's a really good thing that there are resources that are helping you deal with this grief. Um, you know, and the loss of a child is just absolutely heartbreaking. The loss of anyone, but especially when it's a child, and just trying to navigate through the grief process, and then with you having other children, having to still manage being a mother and deal with your grief and trying to find a balance in between it all. I mean, you're just super courageous. You really are.
Trying to
And
keep my together in all of this. So I've been kind of keeping having like busy work. Like yesterday, I put on my blazer, and I'm like, I got to get my babies, which is I'm calling the community my babies, them babies out there. I got to get
yeah.
them sponsors. We got to get some donations going on. So I went out to a lot of the local businesses here and asked them to sponsor us at this event that's coming up to provide donations. So I really think it's going to be a really good turnout. We would love to have you and Chef there.
Look, you gonna make me come down there to Tallahassee. I haven't been down there in a while. The last time I was there, that was Abion was graduating from school because he graduated from FAMU.
Oh, okay, that's right
So
down the street.
yeah, he's a rattler. So I'm a rattler mom. I believe in helping support the community. He actually was teaching at Sealy.
Oh,
Was it Sealy Elementary or middle school? He was,
elementary.
yeah, he was teaching there. He was teaching fourth grade. Yeah, so yeah, elementary. He was teaching fourth grade over at Sealy. So I've been down there a couple times when he was over in the school, and met the kids and things of that nature.
Okay.
Um, so that would definitely sound like something that I would be interested in. And and if I cannot make it there, I would definitely love to, be able to contribute to the
Absolutely.
cause. I believe that it's so important, creating a space for people that are dealing with a loss. And, I really like, I'm listening and I'm writing down notes and things like that. So if you all did not hear, um, there, excuse me, I'm getting nervous. Deandra started a foundation in memory of her son. It's going to be providing resources for parents dealing with loss and dealing with ongoing medical crisis. They hope to be able to provide gas, food, rent, mortgage payments, and things like that to help the families alleviate the extra stressors that come with caring for um, a family member that's grieving or one that is really trying to be there with their family to support them while they're going through medical procedures.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
what's going on. Yeah, so we're going to kind of cater more to kids um,
Hmm.
aspect as well, though, because obviously it was for baby AJ. So we do want to kind of cater more to the children. Um,
Hmm.
and then eventually, after we finish this event, we want to be able to try to connect with the NICUs here locally or
That's
abroad
wonderful.
in the area to try to see, what families, whatever they need. It could be something as far as like mental health. We can provide them with a
Yeah.
resource, some mental health service. They need legal counseling, or legal advice rather. We want to be able to provide them with that resource to be able to seek legal counseling if need be. So we
Yeah.
want a place that they feel safe and comfortable to come to. They where they won't be judged. Because I know that when I was going through what I was going through with baby AJ, you kind of feel like you're in it by yourself.
Yeah.
I have a wonderful support system, wonderful cousins, mom, aunt, everybody. They're amazing. Sisters, brothers, they've all been phenomenal along this journey. But what about the ones who don't have the support?
Right.
What about the ones that don't have anybody to talk to? So you don't want them to feel like they don't have that safe space. But even then, a lot of people can't relate to you losing a child. Only thing they
Hmm.
I love God, yes I do, but in that moment, just saying I'm gonna pray for you, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough in that moment. So I was like, you don't understand how I feel. You don't get it. You kind of feel like that.
And then and then along with that, grief becomes the anger, it becomes the resentment, the blame. Like, it's so many emotions because we are human. We're not one-dimensional people.
Absolutely.
So today it might be fine, and then it'll be something like you said. It was hard for you to separate from the items. You didn't want to let them go because you were still holding on to a piece of AJ.
I still have some right now to this day that I'm like, I don't want to give everything away. I mean, I still have his blankets. I still have his clothes from the hospital, like he had on the hospital bed. I still have his blankets. I still have his arm cuff thing that was around his arm. I still have like because March of Dimes was there and they gave us like a little cloth heart. And so I would first put one on you to be able to get your scent on you to be the mom. And then you get one from him after being in his crib for a while and then you switch it out. I have that. I know when he passed away, because my oldest daughter, she was so excited because you always have one child that's like the mama of the group.
Yeah, she was ready.
Right. So it's almost like she birthed him. So she was so excited about, being able to have her new baby. And then when it happened, it was like she was crushed. And so I remember that day when we came home, it was like the longest ride home ever when he passed. And we were trying to figure out how we were going to tell the kids that he's not coming home. And when we got there, I couldn't even say it. Like, his dad had to tell the kids what was going on, and she lost it. And I remember she asked me, she said, "Mommy, can I have the thing for the baby, like the little heart? Can I sleep with it?" And she began to sleep with it every night. And then she would put it in her book bag to go to school. And that was her way of coping with it.
Right. Wow. Whew, this was a lot for me to take in on this Sunday. And I know it's a lot for a lot of people out there, but I thank you so much for sharing your story. And, whatever I can do to help, I'm down. I'm down.
Yes, we really appreciate it. So everyone who's out there would definitely appreciate if you guys, if God puts it on your heart to donate to our foundation, because we really want to be really impactful in the community. We would definitely appreciate it. We have a different multitude of ways that you guys can donate. I don't know if anybody out there is in Tallahassee, but if you are, you can definitely inbox me and let me know if you want to donate some school supplies. We can meet up somewhere to get them. We do have our website that is up as well, togethernessfoundation.com.
All right. Let me go ahead and post that on my Facebook.
Okay.
Let me see. Let me get out of here. Can you still see me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. www.togetherness
Foundation. All together.
Togetherness. Hold up. Togetherness. Foundation.com.
Yes, and then we did set up a cash app for the foundation as well. It's Togetherness F22.
Wait a minute, hold on. Yeah, because I did something already. Okay. Donate to the foundation. So I'm trying to type, and I have this up on this stand, and it's kind of doing its own thing, but we're going to get it. Donate to the foundation. You may do so at Cash App. All right, what is the Cash App?
It's Togetherness. F as in Frank. 22.
22. All right.
22. Yes.
Okay, got it. Post. All right. I just posted it.
so appreciative though that you allowed me to use or share my story rather on your platform. We are forever, ever indebted to you. And Chef, we are so appreciative though that you just let us share because a lot of people sometimes you may reach out to them and they sometimes I feel like it's divine. It's whatever God's time is. I just feel like God put you in this space, put you in our lives in this moment to be able to help us be impactful to the community in a special way. And it wasn't nobody but you who reached back out. How many people I've inboxed to try to share my story and just to be a blessing to our organization, just be able to just hear and just listen. And nobody responded but you. You're a special type of person. I promise. Thank God.
Thank you so much.
So
Like I'm so. Oh, you got to give me a second. Woo. All right. Oh, I had to gather myself. Y'all know how I get by now. I just I can't imagine how you feel. I know that, I have dealt with loss throughout my life,
mhm.
but I cannot imagine what you are going through. But I know like it's this what you have dealt with is super close because about a year and a half or so ago, my uncle and his wife, they um lost their baby,
Mm,
and she had to deliver that baby,
mm.
and the baby was stillborn.
Oh wow. I can't even imagine.
So, like your daughter, how she was super excited, we were so excited as well.
Mm,
So, I haven't been that parent, but it really hit very close. So when I read your story, I was like, I need a moment, but I knew, we stayed in touch,
mhm.
and whoo, so I'm so glad that we were able to connect, and you were able to share your story.
Yes, I'm so appreciative of you and Chef. I'm so grateful though. Because I would tell my good girlfriends, I was like, I want to get my story out there. And she would tell me just, whoever God places in your life to get the story out, that's what will happen. If it's not that person who God intends for you to be able to help you with your story, it's not going to happen. And
Right.
she's right, right. And it was you. It was you. It was, it was you. And I'm just so grateful and so appreciative. I can't thank you enough. At some point, I hope that we can meet in person, and I can give you a big hug. But I'm just so grateful and so appreciative that you allow me to use and share my story on your platform.
Well, I mean, let me tell you, I'm so happy that I can help. I'm so happy that we were able to bring this to the forefront and have a discussion about it, have a candid discussion. Whoo, man. All right. And I would love to, just continue to be updated, and kept abreast about what's going on. And, I would love to, like I said, be a part of what you have in this drive. I'm getting ready to start gearing up for my own stuff here in Texas. So, but I always want to try to help out as much as I can in the community. And it doesn't always have to be my community. I was in Dallas doing
I
stuff.
need me for something up there, I would have no problem with coming and being impactful in that community, in your community as well. At some point, if Lord's want to be able to be national with our foundation, so we can be a blessing to everybody, not just in my community, because it doesn't
Yeah,
matter where
yeah.
you are, because so many people go through these things every day. They just kind of hold it in and so forth. You just don't know. I just happen to be one of the ones who came forth about it, because obviously, like I was telling you before, there was a lot of other mothers who had a similar experience, but they didn't go to the news like I did. They didn't try to reach out to a multitude of people like I did, but they still hurt and they still grieve. So we want to be for those other parents, those other moms, because it doesn't have to be dad either. I mean, just mom, it could be dad, it could be
Right.
grandparents going through stuff.
Yeah.
Um, we want to be support to them as well in any type of way that we can. If just taking off, taking the extra stress off of them, like we mentioned earlier about, getting gas, having gas to go
Yeah.
back with a multitude of appointments is a lot. Gas is like $4 a gallon. So if we can take that little stress off them, they don't have to worry about gas. They can focus in on their baby's appointment
Right.
going on. Then that's what we want to do.
Yeah,
We,
it's like those, whether it's $5 extra, $10 extra, transportation even to a visit, it's so beneficial.
yeah,
And it's just the littlest things, the littlest things. If you DoorDash a meal,
yeah.
um,
About the most that's so common. Like food. When we were up drink Shands, that food was expensive. I,
absolutely, especially in the cafeteria.
yes, that food was expensive. We were like, dang. So we would like to. Sometimes we would just leave the hospital campus and go to like a local restaurant, go by Mickey D's or Taco Bell or whatever, and grab a bite to eat. But it adds up. So imagine those parents whose babies are in the hospital for a long time, or like one of my coworkers, she has a baby who has a continuation of his medical condition that she's going to have to go to 2 and 3 appointments every single month.
And then that's taken off from work. That,
Yes,
yeah. Mhm.
yes. That's why we were like, we got to do it. There is no other foundation right now that we know of, anyways, in my community, that is like a one-stop shop kind of type of thing that you can call and say, hey, I need just a few dollars. It doesn't matter your income. That's another thing too that kind of just
Hmm.
gets you in that space, because every time that you call and try to ask for just a little bit of help, they're like, "Oh, you
How
make too."
much do you make? You
Yeah,
make too much.
I mean, to be honest, let's be transparent. $40,000 a year is nothing for some parents who got kids or who only got one or two. When the bills are constantly coming in, but then at the same time, now you're having to make life decisions on: do I pay my light bill or do I take my baby to the hospital? So now,
Right.
yes, I don't want that. I want to try to. We want to be able to try to change that, take that extra stress off of the parents, so they can focus on and advocate for their babies.
Hmm. Now, I did post the link on Facebook for those who want to go ahead and give to the foundation. Let me go back to it, and I'm actually going to put it in the comments. The Cash App is Togetherness F22, and the website is togethernessfoundation.com. That is www.togethernessfoundation.com. Cash App Togetherness, F as in Frank, the number 22. All right. Okay. And is there anything that you want to say in closing? Um, We've been on here for an hour. Oh my gosh. Wow, time just really, really, really flew by.
So again, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for allowing us to be able to come on here. Me rather to be able to share my story about baby AJ and to allow us to be on your platform. I want to thank everyone who actually took the time out of their day on this Sunday to be able to just listen and hear my story. I'm pretty sure there's other people who have experienced the same thing. Um, but just continue to, I would say, persevere and try to do everything that you can. If you do have a child that's sick right now in the hospital, if you happen to have suffered a loss just recently, there is light at the end of the tunnel. No, it doesn't. Uh, you don't ever get over it, but it definitely gets a little bit better day by day. I'm a living testimony. I'm right here in front of you guys to show you that it does get better. Just hold on. Just keep pushing. Yes, you're gonna have days that you just don't feel like getting out of bed, and that's okay.
Mhm. It's
You're gonna
okay.
have where you're gonna just feel emotionless or just feel like you're tired, and that's okay. But just try to take it in day for day, and just whatever your denomination of your faith is, just hold on to it and just keep pushing, because there's something great on the other end, and God, for my faith, will use you as a vessel in some sort of way at some point in time where you may be able to just save another woman, another dad, or something from just giving up. So
Yeah.
share your story, be open minded, um, be strong as possible, and just keep talking about it, because at some point it'll start rubbing off on you in a way that you know that it needs to do.
Well, I definitely thank you so much. And thank you for being a godsend and, still being able to push forward no matter and in spite of, what you're going through. And, I pray that you get the justice that you deserve for baby AJ. Yes.
Yes,
Amen.
thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, I am getting ready to sign off. And please go ahead and check out her organization. It is posted in on my page. And let's get together as a community and pay it forward. All right. Have a great day, everybody. And God bless you, Deandra.
Thank you.
You're welcome.